Today's guest is Morgyn Danae. First of all, beautiful name and a beautiful woman, a beautiful guest, a beautiful soul. I just loved talking to her from the very outset of our conversation before we even started recording. And she has been through some stuff, and she has really transformed her life, and now uses so many tools to help people who have gone through trauma, who need lots of things. She's also expert in core recovery. We talk about some of that stuff and what it is, but she does healing using dance. That's one of her many talents. So she basically moved. She has overcome a trauma-based mental illness, and then she has moved cross country to Southern California. She did that right before the pandemic, bringing her 25 plus years of study, practice, and personal recovery full circle to her business and art. But we had just a lovely conversation. She is about 10 years younger than me, really 9, but we graduated 10 years apart. We talk about that. We talked about that before we got recorded, because we were trying to figure out, and she moved in the 80s. So I was like, how old were you? Because that was when I was a young mom. So she was just out of high school, and she is just so interesting. So, like I said, varied in her talents and how she can help people. And she has lived through a lot. So it's really an incredible opportunity for me to meet her and to be able to share her with you. And so, without any further ado, let's get to our interview now. Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Lives. And I have with me today Morgyn Danae. It's a beautiful name. And Morgyn spelled with a Y, which is really cool. So she is a somatic recovery coach and divine feminine guide, and she specializes in dance, core wellness, trauma recovery, and conscious performance. I'm really excited to talk to her because it's a lot of stuff that she specializes in, bundled into one thing, so she can help in many, many different areas. And so I really am excited to talk to her. She is amazing. Just in the time that we have shortly been talking, her voice, I want you to pay attention to her voice. It's like mesmerizing. I told her I feel so peaceful after talking to her for just like 5 minutes. So welcome to the program, Morgyn.
Thank you so much, Lori. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So when you submitted like a little bio, you have a trauma. You had some trauma in your background, which I mean, a lot of people do, I believe. And you also speak to generational trauma. So I'd love to touch on that so people kind of
Mhm.
understand that. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people like don't know what that is. It's kind of a buzzword right now. But you talked about that you had a pivotal point when you were 45, which 2013, you're now 53. We talked about, we graduated 10 years exactly apart. So she's a tad younger than me. So yeah, let's take me back to 2013. What was going on in Morgan's life at the time? Where were you, and what caused that kind of midlife, that transformation that happened?
Okay, great. Yes. Well, and then from that point, it was also a process,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
that has taken me to this point as well. And so at that time, I was recovering from, I'll call it a fall. Not, it was a mental health breakdown, and that was going into severe depression, which led to psychosis, dissociation, and really not being able to function. So that
Yeah.
I,
Can I interrupt for a second? I mean, the
absolutely.
olden days, we used to say, oh, she had a nervous breakdown. So it
Hmm.
sounds like something like that. Can you tell me like what that looked like? Like what does that mean when you can't function? So were you just like you couldn't get out of bed?
Not to that place, and that was not the first bout of mental illness I had been through in my past. The episodes were not continual all the time, but they would hit me, you know. And so that was, it's actually a very physical experience as well. And I was already trained that wounded healer process, heal thyself. So I've been in the process of healing myself as I've also been studying and practicing for many, many years. And so I was actually kind of awake in that process. Other people might go through things and not have any idea what's going on. but it is a very physical experience of basically with depression, well, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what depression feels like on one level. It's, but it's not just necessarily feeling down. It's, with me, it was a combination of um, really starting to, it becomes very difficult to organize your thoughts, that it can get to that place. Um, you're not only feeling down, but it's very, I was able to still get myself up. Thank goodness. But as that progressed, I was not, because I had to function. I was living in Miami by myself, and be, just as the episode really started to hit me. But then I went up north to be with my family, and that's where kind of like, just things got more intense.
Yeah.
It was, it's anybody who's gone through these things knows it's not, it's a very intense experience. So
So
there are
you
a
were
lot of
able
things
to
that
be
happen.
aware it was happening. You were able
Yes,
to know enough to go seek help and
yes,
get
yes.
somewhere where you were around people that could help you.
Yes, absolutely. And you also, with dissociation, you feel like you're kind of outside of your body. It's very difficult to be very grounded, and that can be root chakra issues. Grounding. That's having a practice of grounding ourselves. People are speaking about this a lot more these days. It's really no joke. There's nothing frivolous about that. It's very, very important practice to have as part of self-care, especially for mental wellness. And if you have trauma in your background, or we can use the term trauma. Trauma means a lot of things, can look like a lot of things. So abuse, neglect, a lot of different things can kind of fall under that. But it does get more and more difficult to function. And for me, feeling a lot more isolated, you're not really connected to your full inner strength, where I had kind of a split where I could be very, very functional, very empowered, very strong, independent, self-reliant. And this was kind of like a root of trauma that I just hadn't quite gotten into. I'd gotten to many, many layers of it, but it was a deeper foundational place that I really needed to uproot and heal, so that this pattern didn't continue, because the other side is actually literally physically feeling helpless. It's hard to focus, concentrate, psychosis, where you really, it's very difficult to function.
Yeah, it's kind
Um,
of like you want to escape from life and kind of just
yeah, it's
like
kind of a leaving, but it's
yeah.
also it can be difficult to get your bearings. You can feel very exposed. There's a lot to it.
Yeah,
Um,
one thing that came to me when you were talking about this, and I never really thought of it before, is you hear when I hear disassociative, whatever personality or process or whatever, I think immediately of like Sybil,
mhm,
or somebody who has multiple personalities. That's this,
mhm,
she had 16 personalities. And I
yeah,
never thought of it until now, but you're exactly not, you're being somebody who you're not. You're further away from who you really are meant to be. And
mhm,
so I just had this light bulb that, it doesn't necessarily have to be a personality, you don't have to be turning into a different personality. That's the extreme probably result of it. But yeah, you are completely separate from the source that you are, the inner, very misaligned. So that's so
yeah.
interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, there are definitely different angles to look at it. I mean, like I said, kind of like a split. It can be, we have different aspects. It's almost like the shadow is, we all have a shadow aspect, but it's an aspect of us, and it's not necessarily in the forefront. We have a play with it, um, but it's almost like the shadow is just like right there, like leading the show. So there's a lot going on also, brain chemicals, vibration hormones, a lot of different things, and it impacts us physically.
So you're back in 2013. You're living in Miami by yourself. Had anything happened in your life recently, like some big upheaval, a relationship ended, or anything that triggered it?
So actually, and to be clear, it was kind of in 2013 was when I was really coming into fuller like a transition out of that. I
Okay.
kind of was, that was kind of the turning point.
Got it.
It was, and that's a story to a decision that I really had to make. Um, so for me, what the deeper place that was coming up was, as somebody who's on a path, a conscious healer, light worker, we do have to go into deep places to get into these areas to heal for ourselves, for our family lines. That's the intergenerational trauma. It's, we are carrying trauma, we are carrying programming in our DNA, in our behavioral lines, in our ways of relating, in our lifestyle that gets passed on. And so that's kind of just part of your path, what you were born with. You're going to have to work through deep, deep issues. We're also contributing to the collective healing. Any of us humans that are doing healing on ourselves, we're contributing to the greater good. It really is, we all impact each other, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so in that way, I was doing work that was taking me into some very deep places, but I needed to, I, to claim my self responsibility. There was a deeper place of self responsibility and strength that I needed to develop to be able to really get into these deeper places. And so it was a bit of a mess to get in touch with this deeper place. And
And how did you know how did you know what tools, like, how did you know where to even begin? Did you have a
I had
doctor,
tools.
or
I,
you
I
knew
I
of
have a
tools?
lot of tools. I've been doing healing work and consciously doing work for over 20 years.
Okay.
And so, I mean, if I hadn't been doing the work that I've been doing, this person wouldn't be, I wouldn't be alive. I would
Mm.
not be healthy. I would probably be in abusive relationships, in and out of institutions, on heavily on medications, most likely not my natural body form for me. Carrying a lot of extra weight doesn't work for me on my frame. It's not healthy for me. Everybody has their own body experience and what is right for them. For me, I've been through the places where I've gained lots of weight as body armoring. Had been on medication which made me gain weight because my liver was out of balance. It impacted my liver, my metabolism. So that was all very unhealthy for me.
So what
Um,
you're saying is you had these tools, which is interesting because a lot of people think people have tools, have it all together, right? So you have these tools, but yet you still struggled, but you think, that's the healing process that you had to, travel through.
yeah, I mean, it's what I did travel through. So whether or not I had to, it's what happened, and so it's
Yeah.
really accepting that. But so, 2013 was a, because I was doing healing work, but I got in touch with this place, and then it was like, okay, I got to step out of all of this. I've got to deal with this. Um,
Yeah. It's
so
like the universe was like, okay, you got tools, prove they work, you know,
yeah,
use them. Yeah.
exactly. So at that time, I did go on some medication for a period of time, and I did work with a psychiatric nurse practitioner who was very helpful. I mean, I will always have a focus on spiritual healing and the spiritual practice, and so working with, really looking at deeper beliefs with prayer and meditation, and really working with my guides, working with angels, always, whatever word we use, spirit, creator, God, supreme being, Allah, whatever the word is that somebody relates to as a higher power that oversees, love. I will always be in that communication. But what happened in that place that I went to, it was like I cut myself off in that place where I could not feel it. Of course, it's always there for us, but we can go to these places where we disconnect. And so all of that was all the work that was happening. And I had to make a decision at a certain moment when I was on the other side of really being discombobulated mentally, but I was coming out of it. I still had to make a decision. I am not going to hurt myself anymore in any way. This is it. I was trying to figure that out. One day I was alone for the first time. My family was out of town, and I was by myself, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to live or die. Do I want to live or am I supposed to be here? It was really literally a dialogue that was going on. And I just happened to be about to go down some stairs. I was in an old house, wooden stairs, staircase, steep staircase. And I was in that moment trying to think, am I supposed to be here or not? And I slipped and fell down the stairs. Whether that was an angel or a demon on which side of the which shoulder, I don't know. But the point is that it really hurt to fall down a flight of stairs. I was very blessed that I did not,
Break your neck.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe it was a
But
test. Like,
it,
let's see how bad you
I
want
kind
to
of felt
live.
like it was like that. It was, and so it was like, you know what? No, no, this is going to end now. This is like, because our thoughts do deeply impact our mental health, our deeper beliefs, those little places that get planted. And so I really made that decision. This is the turning point. There's no more. There's it, and I still had more trauma work to do, to clear deeper places, because that stuff can get very buried because we want to protect ourselves from these places. And it comes out in different beliefs, it comes out in different patterns that we can be conscious or not conscious of. But nevertheless, it was the turning point.
Yeah,
And
I
from that
know.
place,
Yeah. The story like this is, it often is. And two people that I've heard their stories is Eckhart Tolle and
mm-hmm,
Elizabeth Gilbert, where
mm-hmm,
they had exact similar, where they thought, do I want to live or die? That was the moment and the pinnacle of which, they chose yes. And everything in their life changed. And they became at peace with, who they were and the life that they had. And full trust and belief in it, and it feel, I know, because I said, I had this feeling that you were so peaceful, as your voice is so peaceful. It's so interesting because you had that, you have a very similar story in that you had that thought, something happened to you,
mm-hmm.
and you chose yes. And not that the work
Yes,
wasn't over. Obviously, Elizabeth Gilbert, she was on the floor in her bathroom, and that's when she decided that she was going to start a new life, leave her husband. And that's before she, wrote her best-selling book and all that. So, it's such an interesting story. I think it's fascinating.
it's powerful. We're powerful, because
Mm.
then you really galvanize the support that's there for you. You really, and all those forces that are there to support us, seen and unseen, can really rally to to our aid, because we're showing up for ourselves. We're really making that decision. And it is very beautiful and powerful. And when, for anybody who is going through any form of mental illness or physical illness, now or in your past, what can come up for us sometimes is that questioning. We've gone down the road of recovery, or it could be relapse from substance abuse or other kinds of dysfunctional self-sabotaging behaviors that manifest. You go through your recovery, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, am I going to hold when the next, trigger, deep trigger upheaval or call to, leave some kind of a plateau of healing. I've got to a certain place, but now I'm going to have to dip down into more challenging waters and grow for that next level. That question can be there. Am I going to hold? Am I going to stand firm? Is this real? And for me, I guess almost 10 years later, it was moving out to Southern California on my own, with being, feeling called to be out here, and doing that just before the pandemic hit, on my own. And the intention, of course, to get out there and be meeting people, and then the pandemic hits, and it's like, no. And so, in the back of the mind, just like, okay, I'm going for my dreams. Am I going to hold? Am I going to stand firm? And here we are, quarantine, pandemic, upheaval, not knowing, da 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 da, and I held firm. Not that you don't keep going into deep layers to keep, healing and facing things and such. We all are, and that's the beauty of these times, that we do that work and that we support each other to heal. But
That made me think to ask this question. So what have you done differently over the past, 15 months, 16 months of the pandemic, that we've really been in this kind of situation, that you wouldn't have done, or something? What did you do differently as a result of the pandemic?
Well, obviously, not being able to get out and see people and hang out or connect and go to gatherings and such. For me, I mean, that shifted things a lot, because it was, it's a lot easier to get out and network and meet people and be in community and such in that way, of course. I think I just kept using the tools that I have, which is, the spiritual practice, is the physical movement, is healthy living, is all of those things. I've spent a tremendous, and I always was into that anyway, but a lot of time in nature, dancing, praying, in breath work, and really connecting and working out and such.
So it
um,
sounds like you became more of an expert in the tools that helped you. Because so many people, they think they're gonna that they have this like the next 12 months plan. They know what's gonna happen. And
yeah.
then like the rug gets pulled out from under their feet. And it's like, they in hindsight, they did something that they wouldn't have done, and that it really had a positive outcome that they didn't think. We kind of want to dwell on on COVID and how scary, and all the stuff, that the bad stuff that happens. But it's like, it sounds like, you moved to a place and you got more in touch with yourself, which
I
was kind of
mean,
unexpected. Yeah.
it's I mean, uh, that's always going to be the intention as well. But it's like, yeah, following the dots. It really is following the dots. And I work with the earth, with the natural world too. I work with that healing energy, and I work with supporting that healing of the land, healing with the waters, and sending that energy to the greater good. There's a lot of energy work, but it's actually very grounded, focused work, because people are getting more familiar with things like Reiki and different types of energy work. But we really are in a very energetic universe, so that nature is filled with energy as well, and has a very healing and powerful impact on us. And so, really, it's kind of like landing here and being. I mean, of course, I'm always networking and always on Zoom, and I've been working with people since 2013 on Zoom. So that virtual element was in my business for a long time. But I already had the focus on healing with nature and supporting people and embodying that, because again, that grounding is very important for us.
Yeah, I've heard that. I
It's
haven't ever
very
experienced
important.
any kind of that nature healing, but I've heard like barefoot, going outside and being in the grass barefoot is a very healing
Yeah, well,
practice.
it's ancient. I mean,
Mhm.
indigenous people have been doing it. We're all ultimately indigenous with our ancestors, not indigenous to North America or the Americas, all of us, but obviously from wherever we come, our ancestors originally come from. So it's not something new. It's just something people are talking about. But indigenous people have been holding that form all this time, and having to fight for their lives, and fight for their practices, which we in the modern world get to benefit from. So it's very powerful medicine, and yeah, absolutely, it's been a part of it.
Yeah. So
And
you
and
got
and staying positive, we have
mhm.
to, you can face fear, you can face deep places, and go, be real with the pain that's up and all of these things. But you have to we to heal, to get through it, we have to decide that we're going to feed love, we're going to feed light, we're going to feed that lifeline, we're going to do healthy things, we're going to have, positive connections, we're going to cut the ties that are not healing for us, and we're going to use tools that are supportive and uplifting to help us get through.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a question for you. So, there's mountain people and there's beach people. So it's like, so usually somebody like, if I want a house on the beach, my dream is to live on the beach, or my dream is to be in the mountains and live like in a lodgy kind of place where I could see the trees in the mountains. And so, when you think about nature healing, I'm a mountain person. I would much prefer, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it
Mm-hmm.
comes from some past life. I don't know why, but I like the beach. I like the sound of the ocean. Like if I'm listening to some, ocean, you just go to sleep or something, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't particularly like the sand. But yeah. And so
Ooh, yeah, the
if I was
sand.
doing healing work, would it be bad to go to the beach, or can you do it anywhere, or should you go to what like kind of feels better to you? Like a walk in the woods to me would like, oh my God, I think that would heal me more, so much more than a walk on the beach.
I would definitely encourage you or anybody, any of us, to go, if you can, go to the place that you feel the most connected to, of course, if you can. But to go anywhere is good. And it's with the intention. It's the your intention, what what you focus on, what you call in. And also, you can also do this inside. When I lived in southern Maine for years, many winters, and I am not a winter person, and I wasn't going to go out in the snow and hang out and meditate. But we can be indoors, and we can, in our meditations, in our guided meditation, in our
That's
prayers,
so
all in
good.
our journaling, in our
Yes.
visualizations, we can go to wherever we want to go.
Well, and
We
now
can.
apps have that. So it really feels
Yeah.
like you're there. You close your
Oh
eyes.
yeah, absolutely. You can do grounding exercises indoors. I've done them on the bus.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's so
it
good.
doesn't it, you we this lives in us. Nature is not doesn't disappear because we're in a building, or so really,
Love that.
if whatever you have access to the time, at the time, whatever you have access to at the time, go with it.
Yeah, I like
And
the Calm app because it has a couple
yeah.
things I like. It has these like faint symbols with like the dripping of a fountain, which I really love.
Yes,
But it
nice.
also has the lapping, like you're in a lake, the lapping of the water, which
Mm,
totally, if I mountain with a lake, yes, I'm there.
right.
But I
Yeah.
never do the ocean ones. It's so funny. Yeah. That is so
Yeah,
good.
whatever works for
What a
you. I
great
mean,
tip. Yeah.
yeah,
Close your
that's
eyes
the
and go
beauty
there,
of it.
whether, yeah, you can put yourself there. So good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the somatic, like you use dance therapy, you said.
Hmm.
And one of the things you said before we started recording, I thought was so good. I wrote it down that our body is it, a vehicle for our soul is basically what you said. So
Yes.
I would love for you to talk about that. Just like, you know, educate my audience on what somatic healing is.
Absolutely. Okay. So just keep it really straightforward. Somatic healing is really based on it's very body centered. So especially in modern society, we're really kind of can be very disconnected from what we're actually feeling in our bodies, for taking the time to check in with our bodies, check in with our emotions, our feelings, much less our bodies. We can be very kind of head and achievement oriented. All good, but we want to talk about being in balance. So it's connecting into the body and really um, paying attention to the sensations in the body, the messages. Our body's very intelligent, and so we develop that relationship with our bodies, and kind of understanding what the signs are, also what we're feeling, and understanding that our story can impact our physical health. So
Yes.
understanding, what we're going through, our bodies will reflect our emotional state and our spiritual state as well. This is not about judgment or anything like that. It's about understanding the multi layers of who we are. So with somatic healing, um, it it's really straightforward in that way. It's really being connected to your body. It's working with the body. It's working with movement, with sensation, with sometimes talk is very powerful. Our words are very powerful. All of that in reflection, but some things, some deeper knowings and messages are nonverbal. They can come through movement and expression, through breath work, through grounding ourselves, with sometimes being still, sometimes through movement. We can shift our energy, we can change our mood. Of course, we know that as well. But we're really kind of still coming out of this age of being very disconnected, seeing the body as like the unsacred or the unholy, so to speak, and really understanding that our bodies really are sacred. It's not just about an appearance. It's not just about getting other people's approval or meeting the latest beauty standard, which could change in 2 seconds and then, whatever. And do that if that's what you want. But it's just to say that the body really is a sacred place that's very intelligent. And so with the dance movement, uh, therapy as well, we're still working with tuning in to the body. We're still working with that grounding, with the breath work, with kind of tuning into how things feel. With we can actually feel good in our bodies. We can feel light. We can feel open. We can feel strong and centered and grounded. And we don't absolutely kind of focusing in on our kind of demographic. We don't have to say, oh, as I get older, especially at middle age and beyond, all of a sudden I'm not going to feel connected to my body. I'm not going to have any vitality. I'm going to, I can't dance freely. I can't express myself. It's, that's frivolous. Well, this is all our life force. This helps to keep our hearts open, helps to keep our creative energy flowing, helps to keep our focus and concentration, our stamina, our immune systems, helps us to release emotional pain and baggage that we may be carrying that can manifest in different things like inflammation, digestive issues, even stored in our pelvic floors, in our deep core. I'm also a core specialist, and bring that from a background of body work and corrective exercise and such.
Yeah, I
So
also understand that a lot of back pain can be,
absolutely low
what is it
hip
called?
pain,
Deferred or something. Yeah. It's,
back pain, hip pain,
yeah.
very much in our pelvis, all of that. And again, it's not just, it still can be an unfolding process where we're working with movement, we're working with our emotions, we're working with lifestyle is huge. What we do on a daily basis, it's not about being perfect. It's about finding the plan and the routines that work for you. The best plan is the one that works for you.
I'm curious about how you clearly use this, with clients, but do you offer like dance therapy classes? What comes to mind is Tai Chi kind of something that like that? Because I know it's movement,
Mm-hmm.
like that. I've never done it, but because I was a Beachbody coach back in the day, I know that
Oh,
there
wonderful.
was like a Tai Chi, like old program. I don't think, that some people could do. Some people would do it because they couldn't really, they were, you know, didn't feel like they were at the very beginning stages of exercise and it was something that was easier to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
how does that?
parallels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there are definitely parallels. It's conscious, it's being tuned in. It is connecting with your breath. It's grounding your body so that you're not kind of floated up into your head, but you're centered down into you're connected into your body, you feel your feet connected into the ground. And it's, I'm not by any means an expert of Tai Chi, so I don't know what all the movements mean, but they all, I know with Tai Chi they have meaning and such. And so there are definitely parallels in that. So, and with what I do, I can work with somebody from the place of in so much pain they're not even really able to move or walk, or they're, in their recovery and they're needing to get, I'm meeting them. I'm not a crisis counselor. I meet them kind of as they've gotten a little situated to support them through the recovery, when I do that work. But I can really support people in classes or sessions. We can be doing the real gentle movement work all the way to more rigorous, because you can progress along that path as well. But even when you're doing rigorous, really high energy work and such, more challenging physically, you still need to be connected into your body. You're not abusing your body. You're not pushing beyond what feels right. You're not, putting yourself down to keep yourself going. It's still love. It's still about self-love. It's still our bodies, just like our hearts, our whole beings respond to love. Love, respect, honor, all of those things. That's where we flourish, you know.
Yeah. What is it about movement exactly? I mean, for me, I, if I have a choice to of workout programs, I would say I no, I tend to like the resistance stuff, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, it's just, I don't like the high impact. I don't like the
Yeah.
like just I maybe even when I was younger, I just didn't like it. Just didn't like it. I don't like the intensity of that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
it can get to that place where it's just hyper grueling. I don't
yeah,
really want to go to
I
the
don't like that.
like,
But
you know.
I love dance
Hmm.
workouts, like dance
Yeah.
cardio, and I like have two left feet. So, did you ever see the movie? It was about dogs. It was about a dog show. It was like a docudrama. It was really funny. It was the guy who did Schitt's Creek.
Uh,
What's his name? And yeah, really funny guy. And
First
he
in Show, is that the
Yes,
one?
best in show,
Yeah.
best in show.
Best
Did you
in
ever? Yeah,
Show, yeah.
yeah. And he had two left feet. That's me. It takes me
Hey.
like forever to learn like a routine. My kids can learn routines like that. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know what they didn't get my genes, but anyways, but once I like master like a dance, routine, that's I love it because it doesn't feel like exercise. And
Yeah.
I never thought of it in the way as it's connecting me, mind, spirit, and body, which I think a lot of exercises don't do that.
Yeah, not
That makes it,
necessarily.
yeah.
That's the thing. You can kind of tell once you kind of are versed in this, you can kind of feel, oh, okay, I'm not. Yeah, you can feel the difference, you know. But
Yeah. And a
people
lot of the
aren't used to
exercise
that.
programs, there's not music, or there's just the guy who's like guiding you, or the female, and there's not really much music playing in the background, or it's some like track you would never recognize. And the ones that have like the 80s music or the songs that I can sing to, Love Shack,
Yeah.
I
Oh
like,
yeah.
those
The
I like,
hits. The hits.
I like the rest of the day is, golden because of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I get, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a physiological thing that's happened as well as with your whole energetic field, you know.
yeah.
It
That's
it
interesting.
does there are, you know, there are endorphins, you know, there are hormones that are happening there's all kinds of good stuff that's happening
Yeah.
physically
Yeah.
in that.
So do
Yeah.
you teach
Yes.
like in group settings? Do you do that, or you
I
do?
do.
Okay.
I do
Oh,
both.
okay.
Yeah, I do. And I love teaching in groups. It's awesome. Sometimes I teach, it depends. Sometimes I'm working with all women. Sometimes I'm working with co-ed. I haven't done an all men's group. Never know though. I'd be open to it. You really to support them to feel in that connected way because men are also, there can be that programming for in other ways that they are programmed to disconnect, you know, from their bodies. Sometimes the classes or workshops are multi-generational and I love that too. So important, you know. And beautiful things happen with that. I have done things online, you know, that I've done that, especially during the pandemic when things were really intense. It was very supportive. And also, I love doing things outdoors in spaces where people feel, you know, feel safe to move around. You know, like the ground is not going to knock them down or something.
Yeah, it seems
Outdoors
like
in
what you
nature.
do would be really good for like a retreat.
Oh yeah,
It really
absolutely.
do you do retreats? Have you ever done a retreat?
I it's been a while,
Mm,
and but I definitely want to do more. Just still kind of navigating with the pandemic in terms of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But down, it's coming down the road. I've got, you know, things are. I'm not saying anything concrete yet because I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. But definitely want to do retreats. You
Yeah,
know.
I've always wanted to go on a retreat. In fact, I don't think my vision board's posted behind me, but yeah, I have a retreat, a picture of a retreat, and I want to do a retreat too. But I also
Nice.
had a long time dream of wanting to go to a really nice place to do a retreat.
Yeah.
And so I had somebody as a guest on my podcast not too long ago, and she does retreats, and I don't know if we were on the interview or not, but she said that she has the next one coming up is in Greece. So guess
Nice. That's a
I'm
good
going to
place to do a
Greece. I'm
retreat.
going to Greece for a retreat. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm very
Greece is
excited
a
to,
good place to do a retreat. That sounds great.
yeah. So that I'm really excited
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, it sounds like something I would love, like it's some kind of a dance therapy, in a nice setting type
Yeah.
of thing.
You
Yeah.
can't go wrong. I mean, and again, in a retreat, you know, we do kind of different types of exercises as well, different types of dance movement, and there are kind of themes to sessions, you know, and again, that breath work is there because it helps you connect into your core. so that your movement is safe, you're more connected into your body, you're in a stronger place, more balance, because it affects our balance, our equilibrium, and kind of releasing the outside world helps us to kind of de-stress. But one thing I love is supporting people with kind of coordination, that connecting in, because you can do dance where it may be guided, you're working with imagery, you're working with types of music that are going to help people to dance, but there may not be any particular choreography
Right.
connected to it.
Just feel into the
And
music kind
yeah,
of
just
thing. Yeah.
feel into it, and that kind of can help people to break through inhibitions too. But then when you work with choreography or movements, you can kind of work with where it's real simple basic movement, just helping the body to open up and release aches and pains, or feel like you're moving in new ways that you didn't know you could move, kind of helping, because our bodies can kind of shut down when we don't move them in certain ways, like our joints too. So keeping it simple, but then when you move into more challenging steps and stuff, you kind of want to pave the way those, and know that people feel safe in their bodies, and you're not going to be judging them. There's so much kind of judgment that can happen in dance classes, and
Yes.
unfortunately it can happen. Doesn't It's not okay to be mean to somebody that you're teaching
Hmm.
when they're
Yeah.
feeling vulnerable too. So sometimes it's people who've kind of had that experience, so they're a little like, I kind of got burned. So you want to make a safe space always. But then that's what happens though, is people feel more comfortable in their bodies. Sometimes then some of the blocks can shift too,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it opens
Yeah.
things up.
It's interesting. I just thought of this, sometimes when you're just scrolling along your news feed, and I came across this video, and it was a video of it was all like pretend, but it was like scripted, but it was this dance team, and they were looking
Mm-hmm.
for, and they had a spot open, and so they're having tryouts, and the
Uh-huh.
dance team was fairly attractive. And so this one girl who was not what you would think of as an ideal person to be on the team, right? She's overweight, she didn't look like she would be able to do the moves and that sort of thing. And then this one girl comes in, and she's like all the cute girl, right? The perfect girl, but a mean girl. And so she, the whole time, and the overweight girl was trying to do the exercise or the things, and she couldn't get it. And she couldn't get it. And the mean girl would like do the exercise and then like say something really mean. I mean, this is like
Mm-hmm.
video went on for a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a good video. And so at the very end, of course, guess who they picked? Because she practiced and she practiced. I mean, the mean girl made her feel horrible, but the
Mm.
person who was looking for somebody was super nice and was always defending her and always like, take your time, you're doing good, and encouraging her.
Yeah,
And in the
so
end,
important.
they're like, oh, we picked our new person. And it's the girl you don't expect. Right. And the mean girl's like, what? How is that possible? But it was I was like, I just, that whole thing just went through my mind, because I thought
Yeah.
that like plays out, because you judge people and you think, oh, because of the way they look, or maybe they can't get it right away, is they're going to fail, or you don't give them a chance and you don't encourage them.
And
And
people feel
yeah,
that. That
yeah.
feels terrible for anybody. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And when you're in this kind of place, dance for healing or movement. I mean, fitness can be that way. A lot of any kind of movement, we're designed to move. So that's our organic design. It's our birthright. And unless you're and and even if you're in a wheelchair or you're not able to walk or whatever, some kind of movement, it's a gift. We all deserve some level of movement. It doesn't matter if you're just moving your head, whatever. You can move your hands, express yourself and get into your breath. But all of that, it's movement from the inside out. So you're connecting in, and that's that somatic experience. You're connected into yourself, but it can take a process to help you to get connected inward, so that you're in yourself, and then you're moving outward into the movement, in the expression. And that is a healing that I would, use saying that scene, we need, and we're in that process. Things are shifting with all the stuff that's going on, that healing, so that it's more about what kind of, and how we treat each other, how we treat ourselves, how we're connected or not connected, that our expression can be like that, and we can create safe spaces for movement, places for creative expression, and for just people to be able to heal, because
Yeah.
whether somebody, have all different stories, and it doesn't matter if we think, oh, I haven't been through anything. There's no judgment or comparison of stories. We all have something to heal, and we all deserve love, and we all deserve to feel good in places that have not felt good, and feel good
Yeah.
about ourselves.
Yeah. So I was just looking over at your Instagram because it's so cute. I feel like your
Thanks.
Instagram is so like colorful and cheerful, but there's a picture of
I
you
like
and your,
color.
your mom. How cute is that? She's got this big old pink hat and she, I guess, had just celebrated her 90th birthday.
Yes, she did. Yes,
Oh, it's so
this week
cute.
she's a Leo. Yep, my mama.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
neat. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, if somebody is like, just had my latest episode, somebody reached out and said, thank you for sharing that, the person who I had on the show and she really loved her. And I'm sure somebody's going to love you. So what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? And I'll put the stuff in the show notes, but like
Okay.
follow you on Instagram. Of course, you're Morgyn Danae Wellness.
Morgyn
Morgyn
Danae
Danae.
Wellness. Yep.
Mhm.
And also email is good too, morgandanae@gmail.com.
Okay.
And can check out my website, contact me through there, look through it. I'm actually building a new website on Squarespace right now, but it's not ready yet.
And what
Um,
is the name of your website? I know I went
Morgan,
there.
it's
Oh,
yeah,
it's the
it's
same.
all
Okay.
it's
All
all
right.
really straightforward because my name is strange spelling, so everything's Morgyn Danae,
Yeah. Yeah.
morgandanae.com.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I'm on Facebook, Morgyn Danae Wellness, Morgyn
Yeah.
Danae. I'm at LinkedIn, Morgyn Danae.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
straightforward.
I was curious too, if somebody reaches out to you, wants to work with you, is you have so many tools. How do you know where to begin? Do you just kind of like assess the person and say, I think this would be the best place to start?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That really helps if I'm working with somebody one on one. I offer a complimentary 30-minute, consultation. We can do it through Zoom or phone call or FaceTime,
Mm.
and I get more of a sense of what the person is dealing with, and really, because it can be the dance therapy program, it could be core recovery where they're dealing with all the physical issues that are impacting their safety of movement, and they're in pain physically as well. So we work with that, or they're
Yeah, yeah, I
feeling
saw
weak.
that you have, these categories on Instagram where you have like special highlights on certain things, but I think core is one of them.
Hmm.
C-section was one, and
Hmm.
the what does it call? It's diarecti or something like that. That a lot of
Di-
people have. Is that what's how you pronounce it?
diastasis recti.
Diastasis recti. Yeah, a lot of people
Hmm.
have that and they don't even know, right?
Yeah,
Kind of a
and
detachment of
actually,
the wall of the abdomen or something.
it's a separation of the abdominal wall. It's also the transverse abdominis. The core opens up, and this connective tissue here is weak, so it's a weakness. So it's split kind of open, and then internal organs can start to kind of protrude and things like that. But you can get back, hip pain, pelvic issues, things like that
And it
can
is a
affect
little protrusion, right? You can
it can
see
be
it.
like a
Yeah.
doming kind of a protrusion. Your belly can, it's often known to be a postpartum issue, which postpartum
Hmm.
can be 30 years later. But it's very natural to get it during pregnancy because it's just a stretching, but it's whether or not you get strong again in health and
Yeah.
deal with the tissues and everything. But women who are not pregnant, who've never been pregnant, can get it,
Mm.
because through sedentary lifestyle, um, obesity in the belly, like too much pressure and not enough strength to keep the natural corset of the muscles in. Men
Got
can
it.
get it. People can get it from overtraining too. They've just blown
Interesting.
out their core.
Yeah,
Um,
there's pictures of it. So if anybody wonders if they have it, you can Google it and find out. So we
yeah,
can.
they're I have a self test as well,
Okay, on
kind
your
of thing, which
website.
is a little more challenging to do that yourself. But yeah, and also it's in my Instagram, like through
Oh,
there.
good, 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 good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and
Um,
yeah, there's just a lot of things that can manifest, but sometimes that can be connected to trauma in our bodies. Our bodies are manifesting these different issues, because of unresolved emotional,
Yeah.
things in that store in our
Yeah. I
bodies.
You made me think of this book. Have you read this? The Great
The
Pain
great pain is
Deception.
no.
It was recommended by my coach. He had the person come on his podcast a while
Mm-hmm.
back. Super interesting about how, you know, pain is caused from the mind in many cases, and he
Yeah.
has lots of examples. There's the guy who wrote the book, Stephen Ray Ozanic or Ozanich.
I'll keep
He
an eye out from
Yeah,
this recording.
he was a like kind of a protege of the doctor who kind of came up with this whole idea of, it's deferred pain from a trauma that you had. And so the author shares about what caused his trauma, and it like it surfaced or resurfaced as like horrible back pain, debilitating, like that was supposed to be surgically corrected, that extreme.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, his story is like heart wrenching story. But it's just a really good book. And I always like to recommend things like that but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's something that, yeah, you would really relate to with what you
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. I'll definitely check it out,
Yeah.
because it's a huge thing, and people have to. It's really important for us to all keep remembering too that when we talk about mind, body connection, and spirit, and all of those things, and we're shifting things and addressing the mind for perhaps our thoughts, it doesn't mean we're not still taking care of our bodies. When we're in mental health recovery and maybe we are going to wean off of medication with a psychiatrist supervision, medical supervision of some kind, or a practitioner, nurse practitioner, or something. We're not just weaning off of stuff and going and meditate. You're getting a whole lifestyle together of recovery. You're taking the right herbs, you're eating the foods, you're drinking the water, you're doing teas if you need to, you're going to acupuncture, or you're getting massage, or you're doing different things to replace what you were relying on in another way. Or if you're
Mm.
working with your mind, it's very important that we don't just I'm not saying you do this at all, this isn't it, I'm just a message I'm giving, that so that people
Yeah.
don't feel
Love
this,
that. Yes.
where there can be this kind of like, well, just get over it, or
Yeah.
your thoughts just weren't positive,
Or
or
yeah, quick
da da
fix.
da.
Just read this
Yeah,
book and you'll be all
just, yeah,
better. Yeah.
exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is a process, and it's really important to remember that this is about loving yourself, that this is about feeling safe, it's about having people who listen, who are respectful of you and your process, who are not going to tell you, negate you. There's a lot of negation that is happening, of people coming with real issues. It's your body, and whatever you're saying, own your truth. And it's just really important for people to be heard
Mhm.
and respected. And you know what I mean? So that,
Yeah, I just wish more people in the field of medicine knew more about alternatives and about like mental health as it relates to pain, because I think that's a
yeah,
very unknown. It's not taught in medical school.
right.
We,
It's
we
not.
going back to what you said, where the body being a vehicle for the soul, and when you're not, I've had clients, so I've seen this firsthand, where they're not living in alignment. They're very disconnected from their authentic self, and they are like suffering from adrenal fatigue.
Absolutely.
They're feeling like a lot of, they're have autoimmune issues, things like
Yeah,
that.
somatic
Yeah.
issues.
And
Yeah.
it's because like, you're not utilizing and treating your body like, you should. So
It's a
yeah, it's tough.
process.
We live
Yeah,
in a
it's a
world where
lot.
it's very easy to mistreat our bodies. So
Oh yeah,
yes.
we're kind of going against the grain a little bit to make
Yeah.
that choice, and then
Yeah.
also as it's, and to believe, to have a paradigm to consider that as we get older, we don't have to just break apart and give up, and that we really can keep healing, and there's not a certain point where the
Oh,
healing
yes.
stops,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
where we can't, have that inner child alive and vibrant and feeling safe inside of ourselves, where we can't be reparenting and creating a new life. We can have that renewal. It is tools, it is practice, it is all of those things, but it is there for us,
Mhm. Yeah.
and we deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was so great to meet you and have
Yes,
this
you too, Lori.
conversation. You're just a gem, and I think that you're doing great things in the world. And yeah,
Thank you, Lori.
we'll
Thank you
keep
so
in touch.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for your work as well and your wonderful vibrancy. It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraveragegrandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at Not Your Average Grandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own, not your average life.